can see the verdict crescendo before I could finish my sentence. He called my name like you were calling the tennis. Back and forth,
En Samaria y hasta lo último de la tierra. Y a mí lo que me encanta
open the word and I eat it like lettuce. Eat it up, beat it up, and don't forget it. The devil try to. Okay, guys. Most likely, I am on your screen right now. But this is the second part you guys are watching, and it's all audio, but just except this part. But hopefully, you guys enjoy it. I'm in my man cave right now. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it. You guys share it, comment down below, like the video, and also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, please. Subscribe. So, without further ado, go ahead and watch. Well, listen. If you guys want, yeah, just listen to the rest of the video.
So, I think this is it. I think this is where I go. Everyone's gonna find out who I am, because I've been hiding under this mask for a very long time. But I'm here to tell you first, this is who I really am. This is me. When I come to church, after I leave, I go hook up with girls, I go smoke, I go to parties. This is who I really am. And you know what he told me? He was like, Wally, God has such a purpose in your life. He didn't condemn me. He wasn't like, you're useless. How dare you do this while you're in ministry? How dare you do with what God has? He didn't do that. With love, he embraced me. And he was like, we are going to build you up so that next time you don't make this mistake again. I made the mistake again, but in that initial season of my life, I myself, that is when I think God began to work in me to get me to where I was at 18, where I made that decision to really give my life to God. I also want to point out that I have forgotten about a very crazy part in my life that not many people know. I don't speak about this anymore because it is a very, very emotional aspect of my life. Ever since I could run, ever since I could walk, ever since I was able to use my legs, I had dedicated my life to playing soccer. And
I want to stop you just 1 second. Yeah. There's a reason why I wore this shirt today, because I know you like Real Madrid.
It might be the best shirt you could have worn.
And it has Monte Santo on the back, so it's like a flag. So it's like the nicest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
So I wore it specifically for today. So in case you mentioned that, so that is something we relate in soccer. So that's something I know you've talked to me about. But before we get into soccer, I want to talk about one little topic here. You had said you had fallen into sin and you had went to your youth leader. I kind of want to mention that because I feel like a lot of youth are scared to go even up to the youth leader, or maybe a leader in general, maybe their pastors, and especially when doing mistakes, I feel like even oneself, even they feel like they can't go to their parents because a lot of parents don't know how to react and they go first to punishment or go first to, like, sometimes they judge without even noticing because they're our parents. I get that. And I've always gone through that with my parents. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'd rather accept the judge from my mom, you know? Like, she's my mom. She birthed me. But I've always had that trouble too. Even I don't know. I know I talked about this with Anthony. Anthony mentioned this, and we kind of never had a youth leader most of our life, teaching us, guiding us during our time, even as little kids too, until Anthony stepped up himself. And you mentioning that kind of like gives me hope for like one day, same as me, because I'm in a position of where like kids or younger guys, or maybe even older than me, could come up to me and talk to me, and it kind of like hits me a little bit. I'm like, I used to be that one kid that used to be like, I'm scared to go up to, and I will handle it instead of going up to someone adult. I'll handle it myself, and I feel like that touches me in a way of you saying that, because there's a lot of us who don't have someone to go up to, not even just in the world of church, outside of church, and it hits a lot of people, and that's, I feel like, what hits a lot to ending up into depression, anxiety, just until even suicidal thoughts at one point too, because I went to that point in life where I was thinking about suicidal thoughts. I was going through like my depression and stuff. I never attempted to do it, but I always had those thoughts, which is already like a sign of like something dangerous. Like you don't want to get to that point, and it kind of hits, especially you who has gone through so much. You already explained so much about your life, and we're like maybe even halfway through, and it hits me. I'm like, yo, I used to, like, everyone looks at me as like the nice guy. Maybe he has done his few things in his life, or like smiles all the time, is always happy. But I'm like, you have gone through so much. I have gone through so much, but I can't compare to you. And I'm like, yo, he's going like what I'm going through. Like you were saying, like you could like more, like help out people through what you like. It's you like what I've gone through maybe be nothing to you, which has helped you a lot. And I can see that by testimony of what I've had. Like I was talking to this about the Second Timothy, chapter 1 verse 6 to 10, where Timothy is with Paul talking about what telling him what he should be doing, and he tells him too like don't be ashamed of my testimony as well, just not even just of Jesus, but what I'm going through and like what you've done with me in my life. And you as a leader, I never knew about you before. I'm already still learning more about you, and you told me so much before personally, but you, from what I've known right now, like you and how you've acted with me is what like I've needed a lot of my life, and I thank God for you being that. And I could say that even now more, like a lot of us have grown up now to be like where we see people like you, and we are grateful for God putting you in lives like my life. And I know that I'm not the only one who you touched the life. I know you came here into this church, there's other churches you've been preaching a lot too. You touched lives with your messages, but all glory to God at the end. But He's been using. I know He's been using you because oh my, I'm telling you, just like you said, I know the Holy Spirit is in this room right now, and I know God is gonna keep using you. I know. And you talking about soccer, like I know there's a lot of kids. Whatever you're gonna say right now is gonna touch a lot of kids who play soccer. So I know you started. When did you start playing soccer in general?
So ever since I could run, I was
That's gotta be small. Like
4, 5.
Oh, you started way before me.
I started before my parents got a divorce. So my dad, which he just retired, my dad served in the army.
Oh.
And so we had it good. We had it so good. We used to go to private school. We had like a really big house. We had things that most people in El Salvador still to this day don't have.
Yeah.
And so we used to go to private school. And that's in private school. I not only did soccer, I did swimming. Like they were putting me through like some heavy regimen of athlete, and that's why now, like I was just speaking with someone else, like wow, like you're kind of an athlete. Like I picked up volleyball, I picked up basketball, I picked up many sports, and it comes from that that kind of rising, that kind of growing up in that environment. It was very professional, had very top of the line coaches training me since I was 5, 6. Um, and so that's when I started. I started playing soccer at 5 and 6. But before I get into that, I want to touch on something that, as you brought up the thing about the leaders, something that God has really been stirring up in my heart lately. When I can speak to youth leaders specifically, the reason why I was able to go to that man and tell him what I had done is because he had built a relationship with me. That man would build a relationship with me outside of church, because what we do inside these four walls, there's not enough time.
Oh no.
There's not enough time for you to get to know someone and them really open up to you. The way that a friendship works is I tell you what's going on with me because you tell me what's going on with you, and I trust you. You trust me, not because of who you are, but because of the relationship we have. And there's a lot of leaders that I've seen, unfortunately, make this mistake, that they think the position is enough to give everyone trust to them.
Yeah.
You don't, in this predicament, you don't obtain trust. We are talking about young people that unfortunately are very lost, that are into some bad things. They are not going to go up to just anyone and tell them, hey man, I've been vaping for the past 5 months. Hey man, I've been having sex with girls in school. Hey man, I've been doing weed. Those are things that they're not going to tell you just because of your position.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you because they have gotten to know who you are. And what you're supposed to do as a leader is prove to them that you have that loving heart that Jesus has. And that is what that man showed me. There's a reason why I went to him before I went to my mom. There's a reason why I went to him before I went to my pastor. There's a reason why. And it's because of the relationship he built with me. And he built it outside of the church. That man would take me out to eat. That man would take me out bowling. That man would take care of me as if he was my father. and he had no obligation to. And in today's age, we unfortunately have a lot of leaders that are lazy and they have a lot of excuses. This man, he was building his family. He had just moved from another state. He had all the excuses he could have used to tell me, you know what, Wally, I'm sorry, man, I'm busy. I just came from finishing a 12-hour shift. I can't take you out today. He had all the right to do it. And I wouldn't have been mad. I'd been like, yo, you got it, bro. You a hardworking man. You a man of God. And I would have understood. But he put in the effort to build that relationship with me. And because of him and many other people that stepped in the gap, I am here today.
Glory to God.
That's just something I wanted to say. But going back to the soccer thing. So started playing when I was about 5, 6 years old. I grew up playing, and when I came here, as soon as I got here, I started playing again, and I started playing competitively. I started going into clubs, and this is going to get very technical, very detailed for people that live in that world, right? So you know that if you want to get good, you will get into a club team, you get into a good club team, and some people find the harsh reality that you might not be good enough to get into a club team, so you get into a recreational league. Just so we have an understanding of how good I was at an early age like that. I played at a recreational league my first year as a forward, and I made 53 goals in one season. And
I could never.
so I went back. I started playing in more like all-star teams here, there. Going up into high school, um, I my sophomore year, I had been going crazy. I was leading the state in assist as a cam, as a 10, and I had just been playing phenomenal. It was like the best year of my life as a soccer player. And we ended up having an exhibition match with St. Benedict's. My school did, and I had a couple friends that were already playing there because all of my friends in club were pretty good. So we had pretty good competition. So for those of you that don't know who St. Benedict's School is, St. Benedict's is a private school that to this day they are still ranked number one in the nation for soccer. And up until about a couple years ago, they had gone on, I think it was like a 12 season unbeaten streak. They had not lost one game for 153 games or something crazy like that.
That's crazy.
And they're not playing like JV. Like
Nah.
like they're playing the top of the line teams in the nation. So to put it into perspective, the pinnacle of where you would want to probably be as a soccer player is in St. Benedict's playing for their soccer team. And so we played them at an exhibition match, and we ended up losing 2-1. But they up until that time there had been no team that had they were beating teams 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, 15-0. We were the first team that they had played that season that actually gave them some kind of problem. And keep in mind, they still also had like 80% of the possession. So like they were pretty good. They kept us in our half the whole time. But the coach that saw me play, he asked my friend because he saw that I said hi to him during the warm ups. Um, he was like, "Who is that guy? Who is that 10?" He said, "Oh, yo, man, that's my friend. I grew up with him. We used to play together." He said, "Get his information. I want him to come try out." So in the off season, I went to go try out for Benedict's for their club team. You know, to get into their club team, so that through their club team, I would get into their school as a player. And I started playing for them. I made the team. I started playing for them. And while playing for them, I got scouted to go try out for Boca Juniors team. They were having private tryouts that not many people knew. You had to be called, and you had to go there with sponsors. Like it was a professional team. You had to
Mhm.
be there and know what you were getting yourself into. And so to put into perspective how good I was, that day out of 500 players, maybe like 500 or something. Um, I ended up making the team, and by that time, it was probably about my junior year in high school. I had already suffered a meniscus tear in my left knee, um, and I had recovered perfectly. I had gone back into perfect shape, and I was playing again. So I recovered perfectly, going to my junior season, go crazy. I make it to St. Benedict's club's team very rapidly, very fast. I get that tryout for Boca Juniors, and we go, and I played phenomenal. I think I had like 4 assists, 2 goals in the scrimmage in the end, and then we go down to the last 5 minutes of the tryout, and they're like, "All right, everybody, we're gonna do a cooling drill, a cool off drill. We're gonna cool off, and then we're gonna start naming the players that made the cut." So I'm going into my cool down, and for whatever reason, I tried to show off even more than I should have. I did like a fast turn, and my knee got caught on the turf again, and it sprained. That was the first time out of my 17 years of life that I had ever prayed to God about soccer. And I made the prayer before the trial began. And I said, God, up until that point, I had believed that I was going to be a famous soccer player, and my ministry was going to be to preach to soccer players. And that's what I thought my ministry was going to be. And I definitely had the skill for it. I definitely had the discipline for it. And I was good enough to get to where I needed to go. There was no coincidence that I was there that day playing as good as I was. And right before I did that, my scout, the one that was assigned to me, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, 503." I still remember it. I still remember the number. Still remember everything. He comes like, "Yo, 503, come over here." Keep in mind, first time I had ever prayed about this. I'm like, God, if this is you, you are gonna open the door, and after this, my life will never be the same again. And I can guarantee you that my life never was the same. 100%. He comes up to me and he goes, "I want to congratulate you. You have made the A team. I'm letting you know right now so that when we announce the players, you don't shout, you don't overjoy yourself." He was like, "You're a professional now, so you need to behave like one." He was like, "There might be people that might not think you're good enough. They might try to fight you. We've seen it happen. So we just want you to keep your composure. Now you're a part of our club. We need you to behave like it." So he goes, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a professional. Like, wow, God, like, wow, this is really what you have for me. I go back to the cooling drill. 5 minutes later, I sprain my knee.
Yo, nah, that's
So they go back, they go back, and keep in mind, they whatever. I had already torn my knee, so from the moment that it happened, I started crying because I was like, "This is it. I'm not recovering from this," and I'm crying. I'm bawling my eyes out. I cooled down for a little bit. Keep in mind, I sprained my knee, so I have no feeling in my knee, so I'm not in pain at that point. I was just crying out of emotional pain, and they sit up. They start naming the players. They name me, and then a scout comes to the side. He's like, "Hey, look, we know we already told you that you were going to be a part of this, but you hadn't signed the contract yet. So by law, you are not one of our players yet. We know you got hurt in our player grounds. We know you got hurt at our camp. But because you're not by law, you haven't signed any papers yet, we can't give you the facilities. We can't treat you. Like, we could give you the facilities. We could give you our nutritionist. We could give you our uh, all of our people that are going to help you recover. We are going to give you every single one of our utilities as if you're one of our players, because you are, but you're going to have to pay for it because we can't cover it. Because up until now, we don't know if you're going to recover and be the same way you are. So we're going to be with you along the way. And, if you recover and you're good, then you'll come back and we'll sign the contract." my uncle, who was sponsoring me at the time, they spoke to him and they told him the price, and I think it ended up being like $5,000 a month or something crazy like that. And my uncle looked at me and he was like, "I'm sorry, mijo. Like, I have money, but I don't got money like that." He's like, "I believe in you. You're damn good of a player, and I believe in you so much that I know if you could do it here, you could do it again." He was like, "So we're gonna pay. We're gonna pay for you to recover ourselves. We're gonna go. You're gonna go to your doctor. You're gonna recover again like you did already. When the new season starts, you still have one more year left of high school. You know what I mean? You still have your offers. I had gotten offers from D2 schools, D3 schools. Um, Penn State had sent me an offer, and he was like, "So you still have those offers? Like, we're gonna make this work, and you're gonna make it." I was like, "All right." So I recovered. My senior year comes around. My senior year came around, and I had already started working since I was 16. I had gotten a job with some of my friends at church in a supermarket, and I kept it going all the way through. So senior year season comes around, and I'm working in the summer the whole time. It was supposed to be just a summer job. For whatever reason, I started liking having money, so I stayed working throughout the whole season. But in the summer, since I was working, I had gotten myself a girlfriend. I skipped out on all the summer trainings. I skipped out on all the summer practices, and I was supposed to be arguably the best player in my high school team as a varsity, as the one with the most varsity, experience and everything. And my coach, before the season could start, took away my captain armband. He was like, "Wally, you haven't shown up the whole time in the summer. These guys don't know who you are. You can't be a captain." So I was like, "All right, it's cool." Season begins. We go on. Sometime later down the season, I ended up losing my jersey, which I had number 7, and I ended up losing my jersey. We didn't have any replacements for number 7, so my coach hated me. He benched me for like 5 more games, on top of me not showing up because I had a girlfriend. At that point, I started losing love for the game, with everything that had happened. And God answered my prayer. After that day, my life was never the same again. Maybe not for what I thought I would have liked, but now, as I sit here in front of you today, in Summerfest, I prayed for someone, and God used me to liberate them and set them free from a demon they have been possessed. And he looked at me in the eye, and he was so happy. And he just looked at me and he told me, "You know how many people have prayed for me? And this is the first time that I feel free." And I sat there with so much joy in my heart. And that's the moment that I said, "God, I could do this forever." Like, I look back at my life, I look back at where I thought I wanted to be. And I'm like, there's nothing that soccer would have given me that this moment right here gave me. Like, today, I robbed a soul from the hands of the enemy. And I know very well that it was God, don't get me wrong.
Nah, yeah.
But I got to experience that. And so that's a whole can of worms. I went through an identity crisis after I found out that I wasn't. Shortly after I got injured, the schools got word of it, so I started getting letters again. They told all of my offers got canceled. They all told me that if there was a chance of me getting a full ride, it was no longer going to be possible. They were they were like, "We're gonna have to wait and see how your senior season goes." I got benched my whole senior season because I didn't go. I wouldn't show up. I lost my jersey, and so that put an end to that. And that was something very hard for me to overcome. I went through an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was because all my life, all I had known was drugs, sex, alcohol, and soccer. And so when God began to take those things little by little, when I found myself and I didn't recognize myself, I was like, "Who am I? Who am I?" What am I gonna do with my life? At 18, I faced myself with a very hard question, which was, who am I and where am I going? And God answered me very quickly, and He reminded me of all the promises that He had for me. And so, with that being said, I think that gives a gist to who Wally is.
I want to mention this right now before I forget, because what's it called? Wait, in case the camera dies, I want to record it on this thing, because there's a record button in case like the cameras die.
Okay.
Let me see if it. Oh, there it is. In case I go full audio afterwards, in case it's too long. But the theme that I had in my heart for this, and I'm gonna put as the title of the video after I put your name, was the wall in front of you. And I'm not even joking. I'm like getting like, I had told, because I had Anthony already planned. Like I was like, he's gonna be the first one, which was the gifts that God has given us and using them. And sí. No, ahorita es con puro micrófono, ahorita solo se escucha más el micrófono, que no se preocupe. I got you, yeah, exactly. And I had in my mind, when I started this, I was like, I know how to record. I've been talked about using podcasts. I know so many people, and I know about their lives. I know what they're capable of. And not even just adults too. I know at one point I might get even like, maybe I got heard in the back, like kids, maybe talk about what they've gone through. They could speak and we could connect. And one of the things that I was planning was maybe I should also put themes to it. Maybe I talk. And with him was gifts and everything. And right away when I was supposed to think about him, I was like, the second person I'm gonna get is Wally. Second theme is about to be about whatever struggles we go through. And just hearing you talk about your life, you've gone through so much. There's been walls in front of you.